What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new commentary video. I hope you guys are doing well. So today's going to be a little different. I'm not necessarily talking about mental health today, but I want to talk about something that is really concerning to me. I want to talk a little bit today about the situation going on with Sony and FromSoft. So as we all know, FromSoft is one of the most coveted developers in all of gaming currently. FromSoft obviously is the developer of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Elden Ring. And all three of those game franchises have done so well. They have basically just pushed the innovation in the RPG space and have really kind of just shown what an RPG can really be. They're games that people adore. They're games that people love. They're games that people really cherish as like some of the greatest games of all time. And I agree. The Dark Souls franchise is fantastic. Elden Ring is truly one of the best RPGs ever created. And with that, we have a very interesting sort of situation going on. Sony is currently in talks of buying 80% of all of FromSoft. And the concern with this is that Sony already owns, I believe it's 20%. And so basically what this means is that they're not really under Sony's thumb currently. And basically FromSoft is able to create whatever they want and there's really no repercussions. And in the past, we have seen Sony and FromSoft work together because, obviously there's a bit of a partnership already in that sort of balance. And that sort of came in the form of a game that a lot of people love in that sort of genre of the Soulsborne genre, being Bloodborne. It's where Born comes from in Soulsborne, is Bloodborne. And basically, this game did really well. People love it. They also consider it one of FromSoft's best titles. And basically what happened is that this was a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it did really well. People loved it. People reviewed it. It did fantastic. The issue came, though, with basically people not being able to play the game currently. The issue is, well, they can play it, but it's hard to play because the only way to play it currently is on the PlayStation 4. And the issue with that is that people want to play the game, they want to play it in a PC format, they want to play it in just an upscaled version, whatever it may be. They can't because Sony owns the rights to it. And they have literally not touched this game in like almost a decade at this point. They have not done anything with the franchise. They've literally sat on the IP. And the issue is that FromSoft wants to do something. They've talked about very openly that they want to do something with Bloodborne. They're either open to making a sequel, giving it a remaster, or even a remake or something along those lines, but they can't because that is a Sony decision. That is not a FromSoft decision. So, the issue happens. People are like, hey, why won't you make this? Sony makes no comment, but they continue to give us Horizon Zero Dawn remakes and remasters and, of course, sequels, right? Because that game did very well in comparison to Bloodborne. We've already seen that Sony does not give a shit about the FromSoft franchise. They do not care about the brand. They do not care about the name. Is if Sony basically has almost full control over FromSoft and basically owns them at that point, what the fuck does that mean for the Soulsborne franchise? What does this mean, future Elden Ring games? What does this mean? And we don't know. We don't know. We've already seen that Sony does not care about, what FromSoft has made for them and for other platforms and things like that. So that is already a concern. A big concern for me as well is how they handled the partnership with Bungie. Bungie is responsible for obviously making the older Halo games. They also currently make Destiny. Basically, there was a partnership agreement with Sony that basically Sony would be funding Bungie. They technically don't own Bungie, but it's this really tight partnership and they sort of have like Sony assets and things like that. The issue with this is that since then, people that play Destiny, play the game and stuff like that, have said that the game has gone downhill. They haven't enjoyed what they've been doing. So the concern is that if they already are mishandling Bungie and sort of what they're doing over there, what the fuck are they going to do to FromSoft? And I agree. What are they going to do to FromSoft if it becomes where it's basically a Sony IP, the whole Dark Souls brand? What happens at that point? And that I think is a valid concern. And for me, it's a valid concern as a gamer because we've really seen it over the last couple years at this point of companies trying to buy up other gaming companies and trying to just basically be one giant company. Microsoft is really guilty of this. As you guys know, I'm a big Xbox guy, but I'm going to be the first to admit to you that I don't like what Xbox is doing. I don't like just buying up studios. I think that it's bad for gamers. I think that it's bad for consumers. And I honestly think that it is also bad for developers. At this point, Microsoft bought out Bethesda and Activision in the last few years. It is quickly becoming dangerous for the consumer. When you own something and you can only get it on their platform, it does not matter what you charge. And we've already started to see this with Xbox in their Game Pass model. Game Pass has increased in price quite a bit since its launch, which everything has, but it's becoming more and more expensive. And it's a little concerning for purchasers and consumers like myself that at one point was calling Game Pass the greatest deal in gaming. It's quickly not becoming that, and there's a reason for that. It's because when you buy up these studios, you buy up these studios over and over and over again, and you have to pay new wages, you have to pay new developers, all this great stuff. What happens? Your cost of operation keeps going up. And it's really ironic for a company like Microsoft, I think, a company that has already been considered a monopoly more than once, continues to buy more of this shit, man. And they keep closing down studios. We've already seen this with Bethesda Studios, that they buy up and then they close up in a few years because they're not turning out the profit that they expected. They expect when they buy these companies that they can do whatever they want. They can do no wrong. They can go ahead and create whatever they want, or they just expect a magical profit to happen. But here's the issue. When you continue to lead down this market of there are two large gaming companies, and that's really concerning for me. That's where I think that we're heading. We're heading in this direction where there's going to be two large gaming companies. And we already have that, but that it's going to be a very big competitive market. And we had this before in the past. You know, there was obviously console wars in the past with Nintendo and Sega. There was console wars with Sony and Nintendo. Like, we had these wars. But it's becoming more and more of a thing, I feel like. And back during the PS2 era, there was exclusivity, but it wasn't as bad. I feel like right now, we're seeing more and more of it, and it's really dangerous for the consumer. Because what concerns me is that we're going to end up in this sort of scenario where we have two large streaming services, and you're basically paying for video games. You're not owning them. You're streaming them. And Microsoft is already showing that's what they're going for. They're already going for this with Game Pass, adding it to things like the Fire Sticks, adding it to things like the Meta Quest. They're doing all these things to basically build a market that is based around streaming, which to me is dangerous. I don't like streaming. I like owning things outright. It's why I still purchase physical media. It's why I still purchase shows sometimes, or movies, or whatever it may be, because I like to own it. And that's a concerning feeling for me as a consumer, to think everything is going to go streaming and that we're going to be paying for streaming services and not for video games. We already have companies trying to develop systems where they can charge per hour. Rockstar has already talked about charging per hour for a video game rather than buying the video game. You know how fucking insane that is? There's already xCloud. I already know people that use xCloud to play video games. And for the casual gamer, that's fine, whatever. But as a hardcore gamer, it's concerning of what's going to happen in the future. And I don't necessarily like it. And I think that people are just pretending that it doesn't exist or that it can't happen. We're already watching it happen before our eyes. And I think that it's concerning is that if we continue to ignore it and say, no, that won't happen. No, that's fucking insane. What are you, fucking George Orwell? You know, that's sort of where I feel I am right now. But the truth is that I'm watching it happen before me. I'm watching it happen where we are slowly turning into a society that bases our entertainment off of streaming and not actually owning the product. And that's concerning for me. And that's really what the core of this issue is for me with this whole FromSoft buyout, is that when you continue to buy properties like this and you continue to build relationships and exclusivity deals, is that we're not getting away from exclusivity. We're running towards it. That's my issue. We are running towards exclusivity where we are basically going to be purchasing streaming services to play our favorite video games. I don't know about you, but I don't want to do that. We're already seeing it with companies like Ubisoft. Ubisoft already has their own subscription model with Ubisoft Plus, I think it's called. And I just think that is going to be a dangerous game to play. And it concerns me to see where it's going to end up in the next few years as internet gets better, as it gets faster, as we sort of see the reliability of streaming capabilities. We're already seeing Xbox talk about releasing a system that does not have a disk drive. They already did that with the Series S, but I mean a whole line of consoles with no disk drive. That is concerning for me to know this is where we are heading. I don't like that as a consumer, and I think that as consumers, we need to wake up. We need to realize that our properties, our favorite gaming companies, are in danger. They are quickly going to be bought up, and it's going to be a massive purge. It's going to be a massive purge of basically picking what streaming service you want to pay for. And I already think that we're in a bad place with films and TV. And here's the issue too. When it comes to gamers, there's so little regulation because it's still such a taboo and niche thing. Old people aren't paying attention to it. That's the issue that we need to realize too, is that if Congress and the Senate are not paying attention to this, if the FCC does not give a shit because they don't care about the medium, nothing is going to change. And that's why I think as gamers, we need to be vocal, we need to be real, we need to be loud, and we need to express why we think that this is a bad deal and why shit like this needs to stop. It needs to stop. In my opinion, We need to be loud and we need to be vocal online about our opinions on why we think that these deals are bad. Be honest and be open. Because if this deal goes through, I don't think that we're going to see another Elden Ring. I don't think that we're going to see another groundbreaking title from FromSoft. I think that they're going to be left to the wayside to make things like Jump Force 2. I don't think that they're going to be given the resources that they currently have to make the greatest video games of all time. But anyways, that's just my opinion. I just kind of wanted to hop on and talk about it a little bit because it's dangerous to me and I really think that we should be concerned. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Don't forget to share it with a friend. And of course, there's a link to buy W Energy down in the description with our link to get 10% off of anything on their website. You can also join our Discord, that is also in the description. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and peace.